the
Ooh.
two all MLS ties. We've got LAFC playing Colorado, and we have Inter Miami playing Sporting Kansas City. Armand, as you alluded to, these are going to be the first legs are going to be really cold in both environments. But what we wanted to talk about was which team is under more pressure to win and has pretty much more to lose by losing between LAFC and Inter Miami, two of arguably the three or four biggest teams in the league. And Armand, curious to kind of hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I was gonna go cliche Miami. Okay, they got Messi, they got all these guys, etc. But Miami also has another cup competition, right? They have the Club World Cup, and I think that is like they've never a chance to redeem themselves. This is LAFC's biggest like outside of MLS
Yes,
Cup
yes,
competition.
absolutely.
Like there's just something that they've been pursuing and pushing to win, and it kind of comes short year after year. For me, look with Chirondolo's experience now dealing with the Triple C at this point and all these storylines. Like I think that LAFC has a lot more pressure than Miami. Now look, Miami obviously their goal is okay, win trophies. Okay, but they won the Supporters Shield. They obviously want to win more. They'll have a chance to win Club World Cup, etc. If
Kind
if you
of.
think that's even realistic, they have a chance. But for me,
And
like
both
they've
of our
had years.
faces just immediately went to
Yeah, just
skepticism.
But
like
but there's a point. Miami will be judged more by their performance in Club World Cup than they will be in CONCACAF Champions League. John, would you agree?
Maybe, but it doesn't change the fact that if they don't get out of the first round of this competition,
Sure.
when they draw an MLS team and everyone's like, oh, it's just another MLS team and not even a good one at that. If you don't get out of this round, I think it's a colossal failure. I think the pressure's on them. The one thing I was gonna say, like, it's kind of sports group think that maybe isn't true. Like, oh, well, they're running their mouths, they better get out. They don't really run their mouths, right? They never really talk. Messi never gives an interview.
yeah. Mhm.
I just think that they do have that gravitas for who they are, what they've achieved in the past, and everyone knows that the expectation is to win trophies. I do think that I don't know how much last year affects this year, but I do think that last year was a big disappointment where you come up with against a Mexican team for the first time in this much more fair competition than Leagues Cup, where all the games are played on U.S. soil or Canadian soil as well,
And get
and
dismantled.
they failed. Like
Yep.
they
Yep.
really
Yeah.
struggled, and I think that that kind of it's difficult to remove that thorn in your side if you say, oh, well, that last time we played a Mexican team, it didn't go well. If you don't get to do it again, I think you can still have plenty of haters and doubters saying, well, you didn't even get there. So I really do think the pressure is more on, maybe not necessarily this week. You can read the Franco Panizzo tweet saying that maybe Messi won't even play in the first leg. I was actually thinking like, because everyone penciled them in that they're going to go to Jamaica, play Cavalier, and maybe they do. What if he doesn't play in that first leg, right? Like, I think like you could do that and say, oh, well, we're going to win by so much in Fort Lauderdale. It doesn't even matter if our big stars are there in the first legs. I don't know. I hope not because it's a competition I like and care about, but I also can't blame anyone for not wanting to go outside in 6 degrees. It's like 40 here and I've got my chunky sweater on. So I think the pressure's on Inter Miami way more than LAFC because if LAFC gets bounced, yes, they don't have another competition they can fall back on. But at the same time, I think that fans understand and sort of have not less expectation necessarily for LAFC, but I think the goal is to get back to MLS
No,
Cup.
I don't agree with that. I'm on Armand's side here. I don't agree with you, John, because I think that when you look at the fans for LAFC fans are judging themselves based on how they do against Liga MX. In Los Angeles, they're judged by how do you do against teams in Liga MX.
So
Whereas I
what is
think
Inter Miami judging
I,
themselves
I think
against?
Inter
How they
Miami
do
fans are
against
more.
Man City?
No, yes, I think Inter Miami fans are much more interested in how they would
Win an MLS Cup
shape
first,
up.
man, which LAFC has done.
I hear what you're saying, but I think that they are way more concerned with how would they shape up against a River Plate or a Boca or teams in Europe. I don't think, and I don't think Liga MX is quite as popular in Miami as it is in other places around the
That's true.
country, and I think that Inter Miami is going to have that circled. Whereas, as Armand said, if LAFC doesn't perform and if they lose to the Rapids, like they really don't have that much going, and LAFC has won MLS Cup. They've won Open Cup. They've won Supporter Shield. This is the only thing they haven't won. So if they were to win this, you look at it and say the cycle is complete here. Chirondolo has won everything. LAFC has won everything. And I realize I'm jumping a little bit ahead here, but think about this too. LAFC and I know Miami is in the same boat. They're not going to have to play a Mexican team until the semifinals. So if you get past this round, there's a clear path for you there.
Yeah, I think like the kind of like distinction I feel like I'm making is that I think it's more embarrassing for
Okay.
Miami to get eliminated
Okay.
in the first
Sure.
round. And okay, yeah, you have another competition where you could bounce back, but like how is that going to look versus LAFC, where I think you can kind of craft that and say, we're going to focus on other things. And yes, I think there is a desire to get this international trophy, and there is a clear path there. But to me, it would be a bigger failure if Miami doesn't get out of this round. And maybe that's just me not respecting SKC and having a little bit of respect for
I
the
mean,
Rapids.
you're not the
But
only one.
Yeah,
if that's the
that's
case,
not
so be it,
disrespect.
man. I just think that it would be more embarrassing for Inter Miami if they can't get out of this. If Messi doesn't show up in Kansas City, if some other guys don't show up in Kansas City or don't play, you do have a built-in excuse. So maybe there's a little bit of a difference there. But to me, Inter Miami has to get out of this tie. LAFC probably does too, but I think the pressure's on Miami.